Hey, what's going on guys? Adam here with AmericanMuscle.com. Today I'm bringing you a detailed overview and installation of the Ford Performance Lowering C-Spring, which is available for all 79 to 04 GT, V6, and Mach 1s, as well as all 93 to 98 Cobras, both coupe and convertible. So in this video, I'll be going over the drop you can expect when adding these lowering springs to your Mustang, as well as all the performance benefits as far as handling is concerned when you do get them installed. I'll top the video off with that installation, which I'll let you know up front here gets a 2 out of 3 wrenches on our difficulty meter. Not the hardest job in the world, but it does take a little bit of know-how to get done, and of course, caution and patience. So the Ford Performance Lowering C-Springs will be for any 79 to 04 Mustang owner who's really looking to get a more aggressive stance as far as drop is concerned. This obviously doesn't give you the biggest drop in the world, which I'll touch on in just a second, but it's more importantly to pick up the aggressive standard suspension handling performance that goes along with the C-Spring from Ford Performance. Now, of course, there are a number of benefits that come along with lowering your Mustang. Now, of course, when you lower the center of gravity, you're greatly improving the handling performance and suspension performance on your Mustang, while also getting a more aggressive stance, a more muscle car look, depending on how low you go. Now, this particular set we have here from Ford Performance, the C-Springs, doesn't give you the lowest drop in the world, but you do get a slightly more aggressive stance with it. So the first thing I want to touch on here, of course, is going to be how low exactly are you taking your Mustang when adding the C-Springs to your own Fox body. Now, the Fox body, the SN95, and the new Edges all have different drops depending on which body style you have. So the first thing I want to touch on, of course, is the Fox body. Now, from 79 to 1993, you can expect a 7/8 of an inch drop in the front and a 1/2 inch drop in the rear. Not the biggest drop in the world, but it does lower the center of gravity just a little bit, so of course it will improve the suspension and handling performance of your Mustang. So next up, of course, is going to be the SN95 and the new Edge Mustangs. For those body styles, you can expect to be getting 1 1/8 of an inch drop in the front and 3/4 of an inch in the rear. Again, also not the biggest drop. It's a little bit more than the Fox bodies, of course, but either way, no matter what body style you have, you can rest easy knowing that this will all clear all the factory wheels and, of course, aftermarket wheel and tire combos you would have gotten on the American Muscle website. So when you're shopping around for lowering springs for your own Mustang on the AM website, you'll notice Ford Performance has a couple of different options as far as the letters are concerned. We have C-Springs here, but they also offer B-Springs and G-Springs on the AM site. And although they have slight differences, they might not be so obvious when you're shopping around for yourself. So I'm gonna give you an explanation here just to clarify things a little bit further. So I'll start with the G-Springs simply because they are the easiest to differentiate. Now, the G-Springs from Ford Performance will give you a 1/2 inch drop in all 4 corners, whereas the C-Springs and B-Springs will give you exactly what I mentioned earlier in this video. Now, the C and B-Springs from Ford Performance are only gonna be differentiated simply off of the spring rate. Now, the spring rate for the C-Springs we have here will be standard, and the B-Springs that are offered on the website will be a progressive spring rate. Now, although the C-Springs and the B-Springs from Ford Performance have the same ride height drop, it will react differently in different driving situations. So the B-Springs that Ford Performance offers has that progressive spring rate, which basically means under normal driving conditions, there'll be a very comfortable ride, nothing too crazy, something perfect for a daily driver or a commute to work. Now, with that said, it'll also react very differently under hard driving situations. Once you take a hard turn or something like that, it'll compress and stiffen up to adapt to that situation. Progressive spring rates are typically really used for daily drivers and weekend warriors, and something of a light strip usage as well. You might not be taking it to the track very often, in which case progressive springs might be for you. Now, on the other hand, the C-Springs we have here have a standard spring rate. Standard spring rate is basically linear, so it doesn't adapt to different situations. It stays the same throughout all driving conditions. Now, although this is very good for the street, it's really geared more for the track or harder driving situations, which allows the driver to accurately or more accurately predict how the springs will react in certain driving situations. Honestly, it all just comes down to how you want your springs to react, whether you want it to be predictable like the standard spring rate, or if you'd like it to adapt a little bit further like the progressive. Now that you've got a little bit more of an understanding on the progressive spring, the standard spring, the B, the C, the G, all the other options that Ford Performance offers, let's talk about the price tag, because that definitely comes into play when you're picking out your lowering springs. Now, the Ford Performance C-Springs that we have here with the standard spring rate come in just north of the $150 mark. My personal opinion, a more affordable option there for your ride. Not too much of a drop, so there really isn't too big of a price tag there. Now, the B-Springs come in with the progressive spring rate just a little bit higher at the $200 mark, and the G-Springs, if you wanted to go with that to get the bigger drop, that'll come in a little bit higher at the $220 mark. Altogether, it comes down to what you expect in ride height and ride comfortability as far as spring rate, so you want to make sure you're checking it out when you're looking on the site. Now, the good thing about almost any spring on the market for your Mustang, for at least the 79 all the way up to the 2004 Mustangs, the installation pretty much stays the same. And when we're talking about the install, it's not the hardest job in the world, but it does require a little bit more know-how, at least a little bit more caution, and if you have a helping hand on deck, that'll definitely make the process go smoother. As far as tools are concerned, you want to have a ratchet and a simple socket set on deck, as well as a pry bar to get those factory springs out, which might give you a bit of a fight, and definitely jack and jack stands, or if you have a lift, that makes it a hell of a lot easier. As far as timing is concerned, about 2 hours start to finish on the install, maybe a bit more if you need a little bit more time, but overall gets a 2 out of 3 wrenches on our difficulty meter. Now, to kick things off, we'll start with the rear because it is a little bit easier, one less step to take care of. All you'll have to do is jack up the car and of course remove one of those wheels. Now, at this point, you want to place a jack under the rear differential pumpkin and jack that up to relieve the pressure off the shock bolts. Once you take care of that, you can undo the bottom shock bolts, of course, and then slowly, and I mean slowly, lower down that pumpkin on that jack, and this will relieve the tension on the lowering spring in the back. Once that spring is out of place, you can put in the C-spring from Ford Performance into its place and redo that process in the opposite order, jacking up the differential, of course, rebolting that shock, putting the wheel back on, and dropping the car on the ground. The front process is going to be extremely similar. There's only one more step involved here. So of course, you're going to have to jack up the front end of the car, remove the wheel, and then you want to support, instead of the differential pumpkin, you want to support the lower control arm. Once that's taken care of, you want to unbolt the sway bar end link, unbolt the bottom of the shock tower, and then of course, you're going to have to remove that spring. Now, removing the spring, you want to be safe and secure just as you were in the back, slowly lowering down that lower control arm in order to get that spring out. Again, a pry bar might be necessary, but once it's out, repeat the process in the opposite order using the C-springs and you'll be good to go. Overall, about 2 hours or so on the install, 2 out of 3 wrenches on our difficulty meter. Just to wrap things up, guys, if you're the owner of a 79 to 04 Mustang, you might be looking to pick up a set of lowering springs to get a more aggressive stance on your pony, as well as improving the center of gravity or handling performance. If you're looking at a standard spring rate, you might want to check out the Ford Performance C springs, which I have here, which are available at AmericanMuscle.com.